What's up, everyone? Steven here with techmaker.tv. In this episode, we're going to keep going with looking at how to query the aleph.im network. In the last episode, we looked at the Network Explorer and we looked at the simple dApp a bit, and we actually went through a little bit of the documentation. So if you didn't look at that, you might want to start there. Or if you just want to jump straight into the code and you're comfortable with that, you can follow along here. All right, so we did a lot of talking last time and no coding. So I want to kind of just jump straight into it here. So I'm over in my terminal and I'm in the chat project that we've been working on. So I'm going to assume you've looked at that. If not, there's a ton of videos out there on how to get started with that. You can follow along without it, but I've got a project set up that already has some dependencies in it, and that's going to help us. So I'm going to go ahead and just kick up a node REPL. So I'm going to say node, and I'm going to say experimental, if I can type, REPL await, and that's going to open up a new node console. And then in here, I should be able to just require aleph.js. You can see it's already pre-populating. And I'm going to go ahead and say const aleph, actually aleph. Sorry, I've got to get that right. I think that's the right way to pronounce it. I hit the wrong button. Let's get out of there. Let me just hit enter. And now we should have aleph defined here with a bunch of functions on it. And the main thing we're going to want to look at is this post. So we have aleph.post, and you can see that's defined. So let's go over to the GitHub. And again, I'm on the Aleph GitHub, and I'm on this simple dApp, and I'm down inside of source app.view. I'll let you look that up. We covered this a lot more in depth in one of the earlier Exploring Aleph episodes. So I'm not going to go crazy here. What I want to do is just kind of start by seeing what all can I just pull back. And so this is really, we're going to start from barely any parameters and see if it does anything. And then we're just going to start adding in stuff and see where we go. So let's just start by doing, first of all, I want to go ahead so I don't have to type aleph over and over. I'm going to say let post equal aleph.post, and then let's await post.get post, and I'm going to give it nothing and see what happens. And we're still waiting. Okay, so we get a bunch of stuff back here, it looks like. So I'm just going to assume that that's literally everything on the network with no filtering. So, and more specifically, it's all of the posts. So if we look back over really quick at the Explorer, you can see here we have, this is an aggregate, this is a post. So I think this post is literally just calling back all of these posts. So let's have a look at get, let's actually set this to a variable here. Let results equal that. And we can see the results have, it's actually an object. Is there a keys method? I know how to do this in Ruby. I was wondering if I could see all of the keys for this object, but maybe not. No, okay, we'll look at that later. But for now, we can actually get to the post by calling .post. And I'm just gonna grab the very first one. And you can see here that we have an ID, we have a chain, an item hash, we have the address of the person who sent this. So I want to look, and then we have obviously content down here, and the item content, so on and so forth. So what I want to do is just see how we can kind of query against some of these things. So the first thing is, this is a type, core chain operation. So we can actually pull back all of the core chain operations by just passing in the type here, core chain operation. And that's not what I need to do. I need to do post dot get posts. And I need to get rid of this random dot. And I need to await. So we'll try this again for the third time. Third time's the charm. And now you can see that it comes down and we have core chain operation, so on and so forth. All right, so now that we know how to do that, let's see how, first of all, I think there's another thing I want to try here. I think this takes an array. Let's see, core chain operation and chat, and let's see what happens here. I'm not sure if that works, but let's see. So I got core chain operation on that one. It may take me a minute to find anything different. I have amend here, so that may not have worked. I thought that might work because in the actual definition of this method, it takes in an argument called types. So I thought maybe that's plural. I haven't actually read through there. In any case, it definitely works with one. So we'll stick with that because that's pretty much what we need anyway. But let's look at this and just confirm that we get back chat. So now with that, we get back chat. This is chat. So yeah, so that's working just as we expect. So let's see about how we can query for some other things. So I was looking at the simple dApp and I noticed that they're passing in basically the name of the type here. So as I said in the last episode, I'm thinking that we may essentially have the type is like the table name equivalent, like if you're thinking about a database. So you could have like message here or chat room or whatever, something like that. I haven't fully nailed down exactly what I'm going to call everything yet. But then there's this object that's passed in with more sort of fine-tuned queries. So let's see about that. So let's say that I wanted to get back all of the chats where this address posted it. Let's see if I can do sender, and how is this written again? So I need to go sender and then pass that like that and see if this works. So we got 0x9e38. So here we go. Sender 0x9e38. Sender. That looks right. That doesn't. So that didn't work. Let's go back over to the method definition and look at that again. So first of all, we have refs and API server being keyed in here. Over here, if we look back at the get posts, so we have the API server and the refs. We have addresses, which I would have thought maybe sender would be what it is, but maybe we just need to pass in addresses. And this looks like it does actually take an array of addresses. So you can see down here that we're looking at if this addresses is not null, we're going to take the params.addresses, which would be an array, I think, and then join them with a comma, and then that's going to get passed in here via the params. So let's try that. Again, I'm just kind of like eyeballing the code a little bit. Okay, and we're going to start by saying addresses, and then I'm going to go ahead and make this an array, and we shall see if it works. Okay, so I think this 0x9e3 is me. So that one's right. That one's right. That one looks right. So I'm eyeballing this, obviously. But now these all look like the correct address. And I assume like the sender and the address down here is actually the same all the time. I'm not sure what the difference between that is. Again, this isn't necessarily me trying to do documentation here. I'm actually exploring this with you and trying to figure it out for myself. So that looks like how we can query back by address. I think let's go back over here really quick and just kind of look at this. So it looks like, let's say we wanted to get just like 2 of them. I think we can do pagination 2. And let's see how many that gave us. Yeah, so now we're just getting the 2 back. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we could do refs and we could do tags. Refs is going to turn out to be an interesting one. I haven't really seen anything with tags. I don't know what that actually does. So I might have to play with that offline a little bit. I'm looking down here in the submit method to see if there's anything about tags. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see. So one thing that we haven't really looked at is how can you look up just an individual item? So I'm thinking maybe the hash is the answer. So every hash on every single one of these things is going to have to be unique. So let me go ahead and get rid of all of this, and we'll just type this out again here. So what we could do is say hashes, and again, that's an array because this actually isn't just looking up 1, it's looking up an array of 1 because we're giving it 1 hash here. So we should just get this one single item. And it looks like we do. And then I guess, if you wanted to, if you had several different hashes you wanted to include, you could go ahead and put those in an array. So what I'm thinking is what we may do is, like, let's say you have a blog post and you've got that stored, and then you have comments and you want to say these comments belong to that blog post. I think what you would do is in your comment, you would probably say like ref and then put in the hash of the blog post on the comment. So I'm not, obviously this isn't going to work because I don't have all of this set up yet, but let's say that you had, let's say this hash here was for the blog post, right? Well, what we could do is say, I think, give us all the comments where the refs are this, and there should be, a bunch of in theory, if like there were 10 comments and they all have this same hash there, that would be one way to pull those back and say, yes, these do belong to that blog post. Theoretically, you could do it with the ID, but I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen anything about querying based on the ID in here. So I'm going to assume maybe this is kind of the limit that we have. So the hashes make sense for looking up objects directly, and a collection of objects. If we put those hashes in the refs, that lets us basically set up a foreign key relationship between objects, I think. And yeah, so, and then as I said before, we can use the actual types here as the table name. So I have some questions about like how you would do more advanced data structuring, like, and querying for that matter. But like, how would you set up like a many to many relationship in the data model? I'm not sure yet. I assume you could potentially use tags and refs in combination. I'm not sure. So that's kind of interesting. Looks like you can actually attach multiple refs, so maybe actually they're sorted. So if you always know the first one is key A and the second one is key B, maybe that works. In any case, I think I've got a better grip now on how exactly to run queries against this stuff. So I'm kind of ready to jump back into the chat series that we're doing and start building out the actual data model. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. This is obviously a little bit more dry than some of the stuff that we're typically trying to do. But sometimes you have to step aside to actually kind of learn how things work. And that's what this episode and the one before were really about. So in the next one, we'll dive back into building some real stuff. So I will see you there.